Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website, click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again, absolutely free. From that page, you can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words HeartLand Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives, and secondarily because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, please do so. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org. Or you can email Jeanie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if we get a question or a comment from you through the email, we will address it on the internet show, and then as time allows, send you a notification about what day and time that occurred, so you can listen back to the archives for your feedback or input. If you have the opportunity to join us live, you can go to zoom.us and type in the meeting ID 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. You can also use one of the many numbers that Zoom provides and call in, enter the same meeting ID, and then you can unmute yourself if you want to speak up using *6. So we are grateful to everyone who's here, and we're grateful whenever anybody speaks up and tells us how these things are landing for them, because it makes it infinitely easier for us to live into our intention with this work. The intention we have with this work is to be of service, and that is many, many times easier to do when we know how these things are landing for people. So we had our support group last night. It was a Tuesday night. There'll be another one tomorrow night. And there really aren't any words for the benefit to do this kind of work in community and or to have support in practice doing it. For instance, last night, somebody did a worksheet in the group, and the emotion they chose was hatred. And when they went to rate their intensity on a scale of 0 to 10, they rated it a 20. So it's off the charts, anger and hatred. And by the time we worked through the worksheet and did the meditation for focusing on love and bringing up loving memories, and then stopped and did the meditation on canceling the goal and asking to be shown something else, by the time that was done, this person who was at a 20 out of 10 upset, off the charts upset with hatred and anger, was down to a level 2, and she felt sadness instead of the hatred. So I just offer that as input. It isn't that every worksheet can get you a drop from a 20 level upset down to a 2 or a 1, and yet it's always a possibility if you are willing to pick up the tool and simply apply it without trying to think through what you want it to be and how you want it to turn out, without holding expectations and then pouring your mind energy into those expectations. You free yourself from the constrictions of your conscious logical mind and what's been programmed in there, and you free the tool to be able to help you in ways that your conscious logical mind can't even begin to predict. So that's my offering at the beginning of the show today. We have plenty of time for comments and questions. We've got stuff popping all over the place. There's part of the community is doing the codependence to interdependence intensive that is being facilitated by Susan Fluak and attended by, lots of other people from the community, some who actively listen to the radio show, some who don't. And the power person dynamic and the power person process that Michael has talked about for years, but he's continued to develop as he gets these intuitive hits, etc. So now he's got something that he calls the Power Person Worksheet, which used to be a one-page worksheet. Well, now he's got what's probably more accurately called a Power Person process, because it's not a worksheet, it's 19 pages. So it's not just a sheet, it's a whole process. So the Power Person process is what they're going to work through tonight in the group. And as always, when anybody chooses to step into applying tools like this, it's going to stir up the stuff. Just like Michael Ryce talks about, if anybody commits to going and doing an intensive, in the moment when they commit to do an intensive, they initiate through their own mind energy and their own willingness, they initiate a process that's beyond their control. So things start to stir up. Things strike them differently. Life events happen. They interpret them in certain ways. And the opportunity to start processing begins as soon as you make a commitment to do something like they're doing this online review of the Codependence to Interdependence Worksheet or intensive that they did, and or if you commit to going to an intensive in person. Whether you realize it or not, stuff is going to start bubbling up. And you're going to have your buttons pushed in different ways, or you're going to start choosing interpretations for things that echo the interpretations you used when you were younger to try and stay safe in a very unsafe environment or situation. And it's those things that we do automatically that we downloaded as a safety mechanism when we were younger that we need to become aware of at a conscious level so that we can make changes in it. If we don't, we can't change what we're not aware of. We can't change what we can't see and deal with directly. So,
Dr. Tim?
yes. Is Susan Bingham?
Hi. Have you heard from Christian Sundberg?
No, I sent another note and didn't get a response. So I'm just holding the hope that he's healing well and quickly and that he'll reach out when he's feeling better.
Mm,
But if
good.
you'll remember, it was uh, he believes that he was tapped into the diagnosis of Lyme's disease and co-infection. So he had a serious amount of healing work to do.
Mm-hmm. I hope he's okay. You know what you say about when you sign up for a retreat, you start working immediately. I remember that was true in 2019 when Tim Bingham and I went to HeartLand. It started right away, just as you say. But what
And
I'm
and,
noticing,
and what year was that again? Did you say 19?
2019,
Yeah,
2019. What did I say?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
2019.
yeah, so right before the coronavirus restrictions kicked in.
Right, that was. But what I'm noticing is because Michael has, you know, impressed Tim Bingham and me to join him. Logistically, it might be a very smooth thing because he is having this retreat at near Bristol or near in Bristol, Virginia, which isn't that far from my son's place, and Thanksgiving would follow that. And so he's suggesting that Tim and I go. And I'm amazed at how much work I'm doing on saying no. I mean, the fact that I'm not going to it also inspires work to be done. It's like everything is an invitation to work.
Well, basically life is, right?
Yeah.
If if we have the I'll use the phrase eyes to see and ears to hear, we can view pretty much everything that happens in life as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
At least that is what the core of these spiritual schools that resonate with me all teach.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, even yesterday when you were talking about the Alan Watts thing about things that you let fall gently away when you get older. Uh, Talk about synchronicity. I guess it popped up in everybody's feeds if you're subscribed at about the same time. But I had listened to that a day or two before you mentioned it on the radio show. And I loved it because it was like being told that it's okay to dial it back, to be quiet, to stop doing certain things, attending certain meetings, being on certain committees. And I've been loving having the permission, which I've been giving myself, but it was affirmed by him, that certain things will just naturally fall away, and this is a good thing. But one of those things is not only not going to a 9-day retreat with still point breathing, but not feeling guilty about it either.
Well, there you go, right?
Yeah.
You're right on it. If I generate a negative emotional state, it's happening inside me. And
Mm-hmm.
if I don't like it, the gift of having exposure to tools like this is that I can take a breath or two, turn the focus inside myself and apply those tools and actually start to at least begin the process of unraveling. What are those beliefs? What are those energies? What are those traumas within me that are giving rise to this energy that I'm calling guilt, or the
Mm-hmm.
upset that accompanies the thought that I am guilty?
Mm-hmm. And on another angle, Michael's been talking a lot about his still point breathing, and I have been breathing a lot more consciously. I can't do his kind, but I think it's great just to breathe.
Yep. And to be breathing consciously, to be breathing
Yeah.
and thinking about it, and to be breathing and generating gratitude for the ability to breathe,
And
and
to
breathing with the
notice
noticing. There you go.
the times I don't breathe.
Exactly.
So anyway, it seems as if it's all good. Anyway.
Well, it's like Guy Finley has this saying. When you say the phrase all good, Guy Finley says, all good things come to those for whom the good is all things.
Mm,
In other words, when you understand, just for yourself, forget about the truth of what is.
mm-hmm.
Maybe there was Adam and Eve in the garden. Maybe there was a talking snake. I don't know the truth of that. I wasn't there. But if I pretend that the teaching that came down to us talked about eating from the tree that gives you the knowledge, or eating the fruit from the tree that gives you the knowledge of good and evil, and that was the beginning of the fall. What the wisdom you can take from that is, oh, if I think I know something, if I'm making a judgment, I'm in error.
Mm-hmm.
That judgment is, when I choose to judge, I'm planting the seeds of my future suffering. If I don't suffer in that minute, I'm planting the seeds for future suffering. I'm tricking myself into believing that I know and I comprehend and I understand and I can control more
Mm-hmm.
than I actually do.
Mm.
So if I can just breathe and stay open, if I can just breathe and ask to be shown, I do something radically different than what my culture has taught me to do. And it may or may not be the right thing. It may or may not be the thing that leads to transformation and healing and enlightenment, but it's better than doing the same old thing I've done that's led me to this place of frustration or anxiety or depression that I'm looking for some kind of a escape from.
Mm. It is amazing how each thing sets ripples. Another example is you've been mentioning Roger McFillin, and I listened to his, uh, I think it was with Kristen Ryman. He was talking about medications and how um, they mask symptoms so you don't address the underlying issue. You just mask things and you go along. Even though Tim Bingham hasn't listened to that, and my son hasn't listened to that, I listened to it, and they are thinking about reducing their medications. Now, I haven't even said anything about this. I'm thinking that vibrations get set up, and they influence what's happening around. It may take more time, but it's going to be real, the change. It's going to be come from them, which is better.
Well, it's the only place it can truly come from, right?
That's true too, yeah. Okay, Dr. Tim, well, carry on. I don't have any more sheets.
I feel I'm being dismissed.
No, I'm dismissing myself. You're not being dismissed. Far be it. No.
Well, I hope that in the not too distant future, the efforts I've made to try and acquire a transcript of that particular Alan Watts talk, will allow me to read it on the internet show. I've struck out. I've made several attempts since yesterday morning, and I have requests out. So we'll see. Maybe it'll get to the point where we can read that slowly and unpack it. Lots of good stuff in there, and
And you can't play it the way you play it at a, yeah, you could. You could play it on the
I
show.
probably could play it on the show. Now that
Yeah.
you're mentioning it, and my hesitance for that is what I have discovered since my latest computer changes is that the volume that
Oh,
I generate isn't it's adequate for the support group where
yeah.
everybody's there sitting paying attention or whatever. It's we've had several people say, "Hey, can you turn it up?" And it's already on maximum volume.
Oh, I see.
So I'm
Right.
hoping that if I have the text in front of me and I can read it, that if my volume isn't right, I can speak up or change something here. But if it's on the video from YouTube, I'm my hands are tied.
Oh, that's interesting. And that's the one of things fall away, right? That's the one you're talking
Right,
about.
right. 7 things that fall away.
So
I'm gonna pull up the title here just a minute real quick. I've been sending it to some people through
oh
email,
yeah,
so I've got the email here. It
Julia
says
just asked. Yeah.
spiritual awake people quit these 7 things slowly
Mm-hmm.
by Alan Watts on YouTube. It was uploaded about 12 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So spiritual awake people, and the grammar police are yelling at me to correct it. Spiritually awake people, not, they left off an ly. And there are nuns, Catholic nuns, in their grave right now applauding because I caught that and I corrected it. They're saying, "Oh, I don't need to hit his knuckles with a ruler now."
Oh my God, Tim, don't even get me started.
But
I'm
I think it's
applauding.
great. I think it's great to be able to laugh at those things that used to bring
Mm-hmm.
me to tears or worse.
Well,
So
oh yeah.
so that's what
Oh,
that
and
is on
mm-hmm.
YouTube, just if anybody wants to look it up for themselves.
That's a whole phenomenon. I am guilty of dismissing geniuses because they couldn't use an apostrophe right. So I thought they're not educated. I'm not paying attention to this.
Yeah, it's very interesting what we've created in our culture in terms of judging and competition rather than collaboration and cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was literally thinking this morning as I was working on getting the transcript that I might be working at cross purposes here because I might get the transcript and then decide, you know what, I can't really do it justice because Alan has a
His
wonderful,
voice.
relaxed pacing and
Yeah.
clarity of speech, and
He has a twinkle
yeah,
in his
oh
delivery
yeah,
that is the best.
yeah, it reminds me of the gentleness of Pema Chodron and the playfulness of oh, I forget the name, but when Guy Finley is not triggered to upset, he can have a playfulness. He can have a
Yeah.
joking,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, Guy Finley and Gabor Mate are in a certain category in my mind of sort of tortured healers.
yeah, I think it's fair, and especially when you look at their their own stated declarations or awareness of their own troubles and difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gabor is one of those people who had to deal with his own addictive problems and didn't he didn't always hide it. He did for a while, as most people who have addiction problems do, but he eventually realized he had to be wide open about that if he was going
Mm-hmm.
to continue to be able to help people past a certain
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm.
In the therapy realm, true or false, for better or worse, there's been this kind of a model that says, I can't help somebody resolve an issue that I'm still stuck in. I can't take them past
Mm.
the place where I've found solutions or mastery or whatever. I
Mm.
can't help people get healthier than I am. Now, I
I
don't know how
wonder.
true it is, but
Yeah.
that it certainly contributes to people like Gabor Mate deciding to share their story.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole other benefit in that, though. Carrie sent an essay from Substack around to me to send to my support group. And today I spent the entire support group reading it, stopping now and then for comments and discussion. And it was fantastic. It's basically, it's based on Bhagavad Gita, Vedantin teachings, which are compatible, totally compatible to the work that you and Michael do. And there was something in there that I wanted to mention, but I've forgotten already.
You want to pull up and read it?
It's much too long. It was 5 pages long. No, I can't remember. I mean, what I wanted to say was an encapsulation of something about that. Just that something about how we call it in Jung terms, we call it the shadow. But in this, it's just that nothing touches your perfection, your selfhood, capital S.
Right.
And everything that occurs to us is entirely acceptable and a vehicle for self-healing and growing if we don't judge it for being unacceptable, which means shoving it back into the shadow.
Where have I heard that before?
Oh, I know, exactly. It's the same.
It's all the great teachings that are on the mark. They're all teaching the same thing, because there's only one thing to learn here, and that is you're not alone. You're not separate. Your negative thoughts are false. All those things are in all the great teachings, whether it's the yogis or it's the Bhagavad Gita or it's the Course in Miracles or Way in Mastery. They're all teaching the same thing. Your essence, my summary of it is, can't be chipped, dented, rusted, faded, or broken in any way.
Yes, and there's something that Carrie does in our group, which is teaching us. There was another member of our group last week. Carrie wasn't there today, but another member last week who was talking about a profound upset she had. And we were just checking in. We weren't doing a wake-up sheet. The first thing Carrie said, well, the second thing she said was, I'd be happy to call you and you could do a worksheet. We could do one together. And that was wonderful. And the woman said, I'd love to. But the first thing she said was she went back and sat with this other woman in her upset and just didn't go past it toward a healing. It was like spiritual bypass. We've talked about that. She sat with her, acknowledged her, linked herself with this other woman. And there was so much relief for all of us. It's like we all took a breath and could say, yeah, we've been there. That is true. Let's sit here for a minute before we get healed. So like, it isn't wallowing though. It's acknowledging. It's making acceptable the fact that we're not okay. That was a gorgeous thing.
It's exactly what Alan and all these other great teachers talk about in that little, 18-minute or whatever it is video, is that you quit rushing off to do something, to dismantle something. You welcome your humanity 100%, which means you feel everything and you allow everything. It's very much what the Way of Mastery calls us to when it says love trusts all things, allows all things, embraces all things, and thereby transcends all things. But allowance is one of the 5 keys to the kingdom. I have to be willing to allow whatever unfolds in my life and understand that my resistance to it, my tightness, my tension, my generation of negative emotional states, anger, upset, etc., is all on me in that moment. It's not being caused by the outside event. So if I can sit with it, like, I've often picked up the list of 15 commitments of conscious leadership and read the third one, which is I commit to feeling my emotions fully, completely, allowing them, let them wash over me, get very clear about what the physical sensations are, and then move and speak and vocalize until they process all the way through.
Mm. Well, there's a line in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a famous line that Krishna says to Arjuna, surrendering all action to me with mind intent upon the self, capital S, giving up all longing and selfishness, or there's another word for it. Fight, unperturbed by grief. That's the full inclusion. You do go for the healing, but you acknowledge the grief and you sit with that. Give it full credit. I love that line. And wasn't it your woman in your support group last night who was so mad and at the end of it ended up with a 2? But didn't you say it was a different feeling at the 2, like grief?
She started with hatred at 20 out of 10.
Yeah.
Off the charts hatred. And the result was level 2 and sadness.
Yeah, right.
So you'd have to clarify with her whether it was level 2 anger or hatred and a stronger level of sadness, but her overall energy at the end was at the other end of the spectrum from the 20 out of 10 upset level. And the emotional state had shifted from what had seemed really righteously justified rage and hatred to a deep sadness.
Yeah. I don't remember the quote, but there's something like that. After living with the grief for long enough, you realize, the anger, you realize it was grief, covered grief underneath it all. I bet that's true in many cases.
Right. Well, what we teach, because we observe it so often, is that when we get people to be okay with the feeling, with the energies that are moving through that we call emotions, and we coach them or comfort them or sit with them as they sit and get comfortable in it. They breathe, they soften, they quit fighting against it. Mm-hmm. And then eventually what happens is they realize that this thing that we're calling the anger, which Michael Ryce just calls a drug, right? Is always covering up a pain, a fear, or a sadness somewhere underneath. And if you can get with a person and align with them enough to get them to trust themselves in the process so that they quit fighting against the grief or the anger and they quit thinking they have to justify it or rationalize it or hold on to it. If they just sit with it, it transforms into something else, or it shows them something that they need to see to move forward. I just flashed very strongly on a story by Guy Finley about the not yet. And so there was a gentleman that, I'll make it a woman. There was a woman who came to one of my support groups, and it's a Guy Finley story, so you can tell I'm already changing it up. But she came to one of my support groups and had a very powerful worksheet. She went from like a 20 out of 10 upset of hatred down to a level 2. And she woke up the next morning and she was in a new kingdom. And she woke up in bed in this new kingdom and started to explore the room and realized she was in an old farmhouse. And it was on a piece of property. And she got up and she walked out and she looked around and she goes, oh my gosh, I'm on, 150 acres here and it's all mine and it's all my responsibility. And look, there's weeds out there and it's overgrown and that's a lot of work. I think I'll go take a nap. So she went back to sleep, like most of us do when we're faced with a lot of work. Eventually, a few days later, she finally had slept enough and got tired of doing nothing but sleeping, and she decided to venture out. And of course, the place is, conjured up in your mind. It's a dust bowl. There's weeds growing, but she's got a neighbor that's got a beautiful set of crops and a beautiful, farm going, and they're out there working. And she sees this neighbor out there working, And next to her neighbor is this magnificent creature, like nothing she's ever seen. It's like something out of a fantasy novel. Rippling muscles, the scent of honeysuckle wafting off of it. It's effortlessly pulling up stumps and boulders out of the field so they can clear some more property to farm. And so she goes over to introduce herself and say, I'm new here. And they go, oh yeah, we know, we got the announcement that somebody had done a little bit more awakening and they were coming to our kingdom. And she said to him, well, I got a lot of work to do here. I'm not that good at it, but I'd love to have one of those. What's that? And she points to this gorgeous creature, and he says, "It's an ayam. It's an ayam." And she goes, "Well, what's that? How do I get one?" And the neighbor said, "Well, you just have to do your work. You just got to get about, sorting out the property and doing your own personal work." Uh, yeah, but how do I get one of those to help me? And he says, "Well, it'll come to you if you just, start." And I got to go. I got to get back to work over here. So she goes, leaves her neighbor, and as she's walking back towards the house, she sees clearly in a place that doesn't belong, one of these old roots or sticks sticking up out of the mud or dust, and she decides to pull it. And she pulls it up, and this black ooze comes out of the ground. And it terrifies her. It's got a putrid smell and it looks horrible and it seemed to be moving closer to her. So she dropped the stick and she ran into the house and went to sleep.
Uh,
And then, when she woke up, she's back at it. Well, this went on for days, that everywhere she went on her property and tried to do some clearing, take out some stones, till the soil, get ready to plant, whatever, this ooze would come up after she got back just past the crust of the dried earth. If she went anything deeper than, an inch or two, this ooze would come up. So she finally got fed up and she said, this can't be right. And she went over to her neighbor and said, hey, I'm trying to do what you told me, but every time I do this happens. And he goes, oh yeah, I know that. She says, you know? Yeah, yeah. But it's this horrible, ugly, monstrous thing. What? He said, no, I know what that is. That's a not yet. What? Yeah, it's a not yet. What's a not yet? Well, it's that stuff that comes up. Well, what do I do? How do I get rid of it? And the neighbor says, you must sit with it in the sunlight. Are you kidding me? That thing looks like it's going to devour me. It's got this putrid smell. There's nothing about it I like or want to be near. How could I possibly sit next to this stuff as it's coming out of the ground? He says, well, that's what you got to do if you want the stuff we don't want to see about ourselves. We
mm,
have to sit with. We have to be willing to look at it more deeply and more honestly than we ever have in the past. And if we aren't willing to do that, that's okay. We just create a different experience than the one we say we want. We keep creating or being a part of the co-creation of all of those unpleasant emotions and stuck energies and negative thoughts that we say we really want to be rid of. So if you sit with the not yet in the light long enough, it
mm-hmm.
becomes an I am.
Oh, that's great.
And the I am is this beautiful, more than capable, strong, intelligent boost for whatever task your life will bring you.
Mm,
Guy Finley stories.
good story. Well, one thing I keep bringing up, Carrie, one thing Carrie mentioned, I think on Michael's show, yeah, I'm sure on Michael's show, is she said she was experiencing what she was calling echo grief, grief for the planet and its
Right,
suffering.
right.
And Michael, of course, you're teaching that whatever you're feeling
Is your
is
own creation.
is your own creation.
And he talked to her about how it's not really beneficial to try and parse it out and point it at something else. And let your mind continue to convince you that you're only feeling this grief because the planet is suffering or because there's too many plastics or because nobody's helping clean it up.
Right.
Instead, just acknowledge that your grief is grief.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's coming up as grief, that means you've got grief in you that you can dismantle. As long as you stay home with it, sit with
Mm-hmm.
it in the sunlight, breathe and
That's the not
soften.
yet.
It's just the not yet stuff.
Okay.
It is not yet what I truly am.
Okay, so this is my,
What I truly am is love, as Michael puts on this top of the worksheets.
mm-hmm.
This is your what?
That's what we were talking about, a phenomenon we were talking about in our support group that Carrie did for this other woman. Is she was aware of the not yet, but she sat with her in her not yet for a while till the other woman was willing to come out of her not yet a bit. There's a moment there before you jump into the solution that I think is absolutely essential in the healing process. The full acknowledgement. And it isn't like retelling a story. And it could be. Shut up, Tim. It could be.
Here's what my mind is showing me. Susan, you are describing the reality management worksheet from a slightly different angle. The whole first 3 steps of the worksheet are just getting me to sit with and map out what is it I'm actually feeling, where is it in my body, how strong is it on a scale of 0 to 10, what's the emotion, what's the thought I'm using to create it, what's my mind telling me about who or what outside of me is causing it. All of that could be viewed as just slowing down and sorting out what's happening.
That is true. And I realize that I want sympathy for a minute. Okay. Yep, okay. I stand corrected. Begrudgingly.
Well, but here's the thing, right? It's okay if you want that, if you feel that you work better with it, it's okay. It's also possible to look at that from a perspective of, oh, that's that wounded part of me that still doesn't understand that he or she has the complete power to get whatever, this is paraphrasing the way of mastery, to get whatever they want out of life without hurting anyone or anything, that they have that power within themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay, I get it.
And it's okay if you want to, let's say, play by
Sit
the,
on the dung heap for a
well, yeah,
while.
but, or play by the rules in your mind that say you can't do this healing unless you get the sympathy first.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's your life. You want to live it that way, that's okay. And you might make really good progress that way. That's okay. Do what works for you. How many times have you heard me say that? Somebody tells you you've
Yeah.
got to do still point breathing or you can't heal, walk away. Shake the dust from their town off of your sandals. Because if you try to live your life based on what somebody else tells you they're absolutely certain has to happen, you're not going to have good results.
Hmm.
If for no other reason, then you're going to be either trying to fake it or play along or kid yourself or kid them
Right. All of the above.
rather than just use the tool and watch the results.
Right. Well, I think Carrie probably felt just fine on that radio show, having it the echo grief addressed just as it was. But I had to go do a wake up sheet on it. So anyway,
Because of what?
because I
What were you
thought
making it mean?
making it mean that she wasn't getting due process. Should be a little sympathy in there for how she felt, an acknowledgement of her guilt, of her grief. for the state of the planet, which is, as you know, I came in on 2017 yelling about the state of the planet. And so anyway, I thought she wasn't given enough. Michael didn't sit on the dung heap long enough before he coaxed her off of it. And she took it just fine. That's my thing. I understand that. So I rest my case.
It's fascinating, though, that now you're talking about her coming onto your support group and doing for others what you say Michael didn't do for her.
That's how it looked.
Yeah.
And they didn't sit there long. It was really just fine. It was the right amount.
Yeah. Perfect. How can you argue with good results?
True.
Unless you want to make stuff up, there is no real good arguing with good results.
Yeah,
But that's one of the things that we get to do in this human form. We get to make stuff up.
I know.
It's like Guy Finley and some of the other great teachers say that as far as, Michael has this in some of his talks too, but as far as we know, we are the only creature on the planet that can pretend to be what they aren't, or pretend that their true nature isn't their true nature.
Mm. Wow, that's really, I never thought of it that way.
It is, there's a great piece of wisdom that comes down from the ages that says, most of your suffering is created in the process of trying to pretend that what's true isn't true, and or trying to pretend that what's false will someday magically be transformed into something useful or something that's true.
Mm.
If I just limp along with this fantasy I made up about how other people are causing my anger, and I limp along long enough, eventually my anger will go away. It's not really the way it works.
Mm.
I'm jumping in for just a second. Is that okay?
Of course, you're coming to the rescue so I can mute myself and get off the hot seat.
Well, I wasn't at the support group last night. I wanted to be very, very much. And I agreed to join a friend to go hear Mary Chapin Carpenter and her warm-up band at a local place. And I love music. Oh my goodness, so much. So I was glad to be where I was. But I felt like, oh, I'm missing the support group. So thanks for filling me in on a little bit of it. And while you were talking, I realized that this thing that some people call echo grief, um, the light bulb went on in me while y'all were talking. And I realized that the grieving I feel, and sometimes anger about what's happening right now, is related to the amount of control and dictatorial structure in my early childhood years. And so I still am working on my own ooze from childhood that remains in reaction to that parental pattern that I was exposed to.
Okay, so let me just stop you for a minute and ask for clarification. I couldn't catch one of the words that you used. It had the ooze in it.
Yes, remember the story that you told about the ooze in the backyard when she was...
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, it was exactly ooze. That was the best word, and I knew you all would know what I was talking about. It's a great word. I've never gotten to use it before, but this is my debut. And, and so I was recognizing that when that ooze shows up, these days I get to unpack it and recognize, oh, there's still this little girl reacting. And this particular climate politically that I'm living through with all the rest of you is perfect for giving me the opportunity to heal all the remaining ooze. And I love the way you say that life gives us all of the work we need. Yeah. And so I thank you. I'm always so grateful. I don't even know how to say it big enough for all of your time in meeting every day at this time. It just means the world to me. It doesn't just mean the world. It does mean the world to me. Thanks.
You're very welcome and deserving. There was something in what you were saying that had me say, oh, this sounds like, and now it's flown right out of my head.
It'll come back to you.
It will come back to me. I thought you were going to say something about how when the current dynamics in the world or what you're hearing on your news feeds or whatever, politics, when that gets resonated, it stirs up or has the echoes of the dictatorial or the rigid authoritarian forces that you had to deal with as a child that were not very responsive or loving or supportive. And then you were then going to talk a little bit about that, but instead you just mentioned it, right? So did I miss something there, or did you have a deeper insight?
Well, thank you for providing me an opening to share more about that. As I'm plowing through the book Fawning, I'm having all kinds of memories that I had buried. I had completely and totally consciously forgotten. And it helps to have one brother who remembers. He remembers like I don't know, there's some animal, elephant or something that remembers everything. I have a brother who remembers stuff. And so sometimes I can ask him, did this like really happen?
Happen? Yeah.
And he'll say, oh yeah, and he'll add all kinds of color and details, and I realize, oh, okay, another buried conscious memory that I didn't know I had buried because I didn't know. And so it's just been quite a party with a lot of things to work on in myself. I'm not sure what exactly I want to say about that, except that I do not enjoy being controlled, and I reacted to it with all kinds of bad behavior, rebellion, and under every rebellion was sadness. And yeah, it got real ugly. So I don't want to take up much time because I could take up hours. But
Well, I remember that when I've been actively doing therapy for, lots and lots of years, but I was in practice and had a full caseload when our current president was elected the first time, and the explosion in my caseload of people who were getting their father or their abusive uncle or their memories of this, incestuous family they grew up in. They were getting all of that stirred up at a whole new level because it's
yeah,
right there on the news. Here's somebody who's running for office that's got all kinds of people saying, it was rape, it was sexual abuse, it was this and that. And other people in the country saying, this is the person we want leading our charge. And so all of these energies of vibrations got stirred up, and it was a deluge in my practice of people whose traumas were getting brought to the surface and shown to them right there. And the trick in this culture is that if I work with them as though the politics is causing their upset, I'm dooming them to this loop. Just like if I have somebody who's got an anxiety issue or a depression issue and I give them a medication, I'm not helping them resolve anything at the cause level, the underlying dynamic that's actually giving rise to their anxiety or depression. I just help them tamp down the symptoms. Well, I knew, because of the benefit of the different teachers that I'd run across over the years, including, Michael Ryce, et cetera, that that's not the cause level, and that I'm not doing them any service of any kind if I play the game with them as though that's what's causing their upset, and help them smooth out their upset while focusing on the people in the media today and who's, voting for who. And that would be malpractice, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you've done it. You've taken us pretty much down to the wire here. Thank you so much for speaking up and bailing out Susan. She was really feeling the pressure of being on the hot seat there. Poor Susan. We were so hard on her over the years. Bless your heart, Susan. You're a gem. Thank you all for being here. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Blessings.